They're writing not fitting in the suggested number of lines. So if an activity gives them 5 lines and they've got 6 or 7 lines, it's a bit like that spelling list. They're like, well, I had wanted to write this, and that can cause so much frustration. So some of my students, because it doesn't fit, they'll then just get frustrated. But what I found, then when they come to do writing next time, often they won't start because they'll look and go, well, last time my writing didn't fit, so I'm not even going to start this time. I call that why bother syndrome. Why bother even trying, because it's not going to fit in the box, so I don't want to write it. So this is so important, and I know I'm going on and explaining the problem and not giving you solutions yet, but I'm hoping you're going, oh yeah, I've seen this. Oh yeah, give me a, oh yeah, I've seen this. A spelling mistake, obviously, but this is one of the ones with perfectionists that I think we have to remember. Hi everyone, welcome to the Sue Larkey podcast. As I always say, you have to embrace difference to make a difference. Let's dive into today's podcast. In this podcast, we're going to look at why the smallest things can set kids with neurodiversity or autism spectrum off. I asked recently on my Facebook page, what can cause kids to get upset? And I had some amazing responses, and we're going to look at all of those things, but also what to do. I just wanted to remind you, if you want to learn more with me, you can do my online courses or face-to-face. There are step-by-step what to do, tips and strategies. People walk away going, this is amazing. I wish I knew it before. So if you enjoy my podcast, I am sure you'll enjoy my 5-hour online course that you can do anywhere, any place, or join me face to face. Look on my website where I've got upcoming workshops, or if you can't get to any of those, jump on the online course. If you try it and it's not for you, we have a guaranteed refund, but the feedback is it's amazing. People love it. And the advantage is you can stop, rewind, pause, watch it wherever it suits you. You don't have to go into a room with lots of people. It's just such a great way to learn. Or if you enjoy learning face to face, I look forward to seeing you soon. So today's episode is all about why kids with autism spectrum particularly are perfectionists. They can get upset by the smallest things and what you can do. And the reason I started off talking about my courses is the number one thing I say in my courses, before we start any strategies, you have to get anxiety down. Anxiety down, problem solving up, which is why Nicole said it really depends on the child's current state of stress, what sets them off. What sets them off one day mightn't upset them another day. Absolutely, Nicole. And this is why we must get anxiety down, and why I start all my workshops by saying we need to get anxiety down. We need to look at interoception. Does the child need the toilet? Are they hungry? Are they tired? We need to look at what are the things that can make this child upset or anxious? And once we've got the anxiety down and we look at like 7 different things you need in place, then we can start to look at what are truly the mistakes that upset these children. Where are the perfectionism? What are the proactive strategies we can put in place? So those fluctuations are normally about anxiety levels. So think of yourself. If you're in a hurry or running late or haven't had your coffee, are you more likely to get upset by the smallest things? Absolutely. So as always, put yourself in a student's shoes or a child's shoes and think about what are the things that need to be in place to keep them calm. Now, once we've got those in place, then we can still get children who get upset by small things, and we need to put things in place. So if you look on the blog or the podcast episode for this week, I've actually put screenshots of what people on my Facebook page said can make their children or students upset. And I've put them into different categories. So the Nicole's one is in the anything, like it depends on their current state of stress, as I said. But number 2 was things not the way they usually are. So, for example, a snack in their lunchbox that could be a different brand, a different flavour, a random adjustment to routine. So Jay mentioned that it's raining and they can't go to the oval to play. which is why you need to listen to last week's podcast on schedules and how important using timetables and schedules are to let the child know what they're doing. Because often a random adjustment in routine, we haven't told them what it's being replaced with. So make sure you listen to last week's episode. I love this one from Natasha. I've had this so many times. The wrong pen or coloured pen, just the smallest change, or a pencil that's not their favourite pencil. I had a student, wrong cup, or she decided it was her chair that had a little bit of green on it. The smallest thing can go wrong. But also, Natasha mentions a change of teacher. So again, last week's episode talks about the importance of pre-warning students about these things. Melissa had one that just made me laugh, and laugh because I've seen this. No margins on paper, even though very often we don't use margins anymore, by the way, or being asked to write in a scrapbook that had no lines. So the student's used to having lines and something has changed. Or, I love this, having a long list of spelling words that don't fit on their homework book. I have had that where students are writing and they get to the end of the page and then they can't fit their words and then they try and squash them all in one spot, or stop, or give up. So the reactions I often see are the stop, give up, or trying to squash it all on one page, rip it up, all of these behaviours. What are they? What are these behaviours? These are all limited problem solving. This all has to do with one-track mind, black and white thinking there is only one way. It all has to do with inflexible thinking. So if you have my new mega book, on page 97 is why making mistakes is frustrating. And it starts off by saying that it's to do with cognitive inflexibility, the one-track mind, having that rigidity. So if you only have a one-track mind, if you think there is only one way that all the words have to fit on the page and suddenly they don't fit, boom, you're going to get frustrated, aren't you? If you think that you're expecting a snack in your lunchbox that's barbecue shapes, chicken flavour, and it's salt and vinegar, boom, you're going to get a meltdown, upset, frustration, because they had a one-track mind. This is inflexible, cognitive inflexibility. And I would say this is why we have more children diagnosed than ever before, because schools used to be routine, repetition, rote learning. You didn't need cognitive flexibility. Now we have moved to a problem-solving curriculum. We've moved to a very flexible curriculum. You know, not every child's writing the same word. The teacher isn't saying, pick up your pencils, do this. I've got kids who would love that. That rigid teaching style is gone. And add to that layer a very sensory classroom with noise, movement. Can you imagine? Then we add the anxiety levels. So I love all these things. So number 3 was perfectionism, wanting everything perfect, having high standards for themselves. Now this is, again, that perfectionism's often to do with anxiety, wanting to get everything right. So some of the things people had was letters touching a line or writing a perfect shape. And for some of my students, that's why they prefer typing, because typing is always perfect. It always comes out perfect. Whereas handwriting, and if you struggle with fine motor skills, can be frustrating. And that's why sometimes the wrong pen can set them off too, I find, because they have a preferred pen because it's neater or the ink doesn't run. And then they don't have that pen, the frustration that it's not going to be perfect. Colouring outside the line. Oh my goodness. I've had so many kids, the smallest thing going outside the line, boom, rip up the whole worksheet, give up, frustrated. That can be a big one. I love this one. Their writing not fitting in the suggested number of lines. So if an activity gives them 5 lines and they've got 6 or 7 lines, it's a bit like that spelling list. They're like, well, I had wanted to write this, and that can cause so much frustration. So some of my students, because it doesn't fit, they'll then just get frustrated. But what I found, then when they come to do writing next time, often they won't start, because they'll look and go, well, last time my writing didn't fit, so I'm not even going to start this time. I call that why bother syndrome. Why bother even trying, because it's not going to fit in the box, so I don't want to write it. So this is so important, and I know I'm going on and explaining the problem and not giving you solutions yet, but I'm hoping you're going, oh yeah, I've seen this. Oh yeah, give me oh yeah, I've seen this. A spelling mistake, obviously, but this is one of the ones with perfectionists that I think we have to remember. Getting an answer wrong when they believed it was correct. This is a massive one. So this is where my kids will get argumentative, call the teacher dumb or stupid, often get abusive because they believe they have the right answer. Now, I have to caution you, sometimes they are right and you are wrong, but that's okay. This is a great opportunity to show making mistakes, to talk about, well, let's look it up. Oh, actually, you're right. Or, oh, actually, there is another way to do it. You need to talk through the problem solving. If a student's going, talk to them. Okay, you think that, I think this. Show them the cognitive flexibility. Show them the plan B and the plan C. Show them how you look things up. Show them you make mistakes. So important. Sorry, just turning over the page here. Now, this is another one. Number 4 is other students. Now, I like to call them police officers. This is where if other students interrupt them, they can get really, really cross, even though they might interrupt others. So this can be really interesting. Like they'll dob on students for a behavior they do. But again, that's cognitive inflexibility and often not reflecting that, we all interrupt people. We all make mistakes, yes? When other students don't follow the rules. So that, again, that's the rigidity of thinking. That's the cognitive inflexibility. Are you getting sick of hearing me say that? That's the one-track mind, that they can't see there's another way. They also can't reflect that they do it as well. So, for example, a student pushing in the line, that can cause a massive upset for many of my students. And again, they see that as an injustice. That person pushed in. Now, I've seen it where the student will go, oh, excuse me, or say, oh, my friend was holding me a spot. Doesn't matter. My child with autism spectrum perceives it's been pushed in, one-track mind, boom. They'll be dobbing, angry, storm off over the smallest things. Can you see? So we must teach them that that's okay. People reserve a spot. People push in, but also teach them how to react to that. If someone pushes in, you can say, what can they say? Excuse me, I was here. Excuse me, you're pushing in. Or excuse me, I was here first. Teach them what to say. And then often you need to teach them, well, the person might give you an answer like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize. And you can say, that's okay. Or they might say, oh, my friend was saving a spot for me. And you can go, oh, that's okay. Sometimes my friends reserve spots for me too. I didn't realize. So really important to teach them what to say after that. And this is one I find really interesting. I get with a lot of my police officers is students touching their things. Some of my students are very, very possessive and don't like to share their things or give them to other children. And often this is a worry about losing them or things haven't been returned before and the anxiety around that. So again, if they lend something to somebody or if someone wants to borrow something, you might need to teach them, absolutely, but can you make sure you give it back, or sure, you can have it for 5 minutes, or sure, you can have it for this lesson, but can I have it back? Because a lot of my students need to know when they're getting it back. And remind them it's nice to share things with people. Sometimes we need to borrow things. But again, that's the one-track mind that often the worry they're not going to get it back or what if I need it? So again, that's the underlying anxiety. And I really like that. So number 5 is sensory upsets. Oh my goodness. These can be everything for a bit of a glue stick or something sticking on their hands. It can be a clicking of a pen. It can be a wobbly desk or a creaky spot on the floor or people breathing too loudly or chewing too loudly. Oh my goodness. Or the flicker of the light or a spot on the carpet that's uneven. Oh, it can be the smallest sensory thing. Now, we often think big sensory like loud noises or labels in the clothes, but in my experience, for many of my students, it is that tiny little sensory thing that can create anxiety and set them off. So and upset them. So I guess the 5 areas that we need to consider from that, I'll give you a quick summary. One was it can change daily. So remember, what sets a student off and upsets them one day mightn't upset them another day, and that all has to do with anxiety levels. Number 2, a change in routine or things not happening the way they usually happen. Number 3, high standards for themselves, being a perfectionist. Number 4, being police officers, so other students doing things that upset them or they perceive an injustice. And number 5, sensory upsets. Now, I am sure you can think of more, but make sure you have a look on my blog or podcast at the comments from people, because I'm sure you can relate to a lot of them. So I've sort of spent half the podcast going, here's the problem, because I really wanted you to be clear what the problem is. So what are we going to do? Well, one of the most important things is to actually start to make mistakes in front of them and let them know making mistakes is okay. We all make mistakes, but show how you fix things up. So often we don't talk through our own mistakes. We don't talk through, oh, I made a mistake. That's okay. I can rub it out, cross it out. I can ask someone else for help. I can get a new worksheet. Rather than rip it up, why don't you ask the teacher for a new worksheet? Why not give the student, why not give them 2 worksheets? Like I had a student, I'd say, look, I know you don't like making mistakes. We've got 2 worksheets today. If you make a mistake, our plan B, you can have the second worksheet. Interestingly, when I gave him that, he rarely used it. It was just like a security blanket, but up to you. Or tell them in advance. Remember, if you make a mistake today, we're going to try putting a circle around it. An O for opportunity. I know you've heard me talk about that before. The other thing I find, if students make a small mistake and get upset, cut the worksheet up so that they don't have a whole worksheet, and particularly for my students with Why Bother, where they get overwhelmed by that whole worksheet and they're just anxious about it. So often I'll cut it up into small bits and then they can do the first bit, second bit, third bit. I do that with secondary with assessment tasks too. Rather than them having this massive big assessment task, I'll say, okay, we're going to do this bit first. So we're going to do the first paragraph, then we're going to do the second paragraph, then we're going to do the third paragraph, then we're going to write the introduction and the conclusion. So I'll just break it down into smaller tasks, because what often happens, they start the researching, they start going all over the place, they start to write the first paragraph, then they go to the second paragraph, then they make a mistake in the first paragraph, and then they start again, then they change topics because they weren't happy with that. Can you see how that can build? So by breaking it down, they're not flicking all over the place and building their anxiety, but also I'm getting that one little task done, small achievable steps. So think about those smallest achievable steps. I also like writing social stories about everybody makes mistakes. And if you have my Developing Social Skills book, that orangey yellow one, it has on page 72 about it's okay to make mistakes. But I also like to show students works with mistakes, not just me making mistakes. Don't show perfect work. Show a student, here is, all the way through to secondary. Don't show the exam that got the best mark. Show an exam at their level that had mistakes in it. Other students make mistakes. Show them those mistakes. Show how other children made a mistake in their spelling test and crossed it out and had another go. Show students who coloured outside the line. Oh, that's okay. People colour outside the lines, but I really want you to point it out. Because of mind blindness, which is the ability to predict what other people are thinking, the Simon Baron-Cohen stuff, we need to actually show them. They don't realise other people make mistakes. They don't look at other people's colouring in and go, oh, they went outside the lines. It still looks good. It doesn't matter. Actually teaching them that it's okay to make mistakes, but they need to see it visually. Don't just tell them, show them mistakes. Show them how other people fixed up mistakes. Show them you making mistakes and how you fix it up. So I like to say when you make a mistake, you can look it up, fix it up, or ask someone else. Now, don't say ask a friend, because if they haven't got a lot of friends, they might be literal then. So ask someone else. or the see to, then see me. And then when they come and see me, I say, who did you see to fix up that mistake? And I ask them. Now, teacher assistants, I think this is a very important part of your work with your students, actually talking to them about making mistakes. And in the new mega book, it's got a beautiful colour visual that has things like, mistakes help me grow. This might take some time and effort, but I'll get it done. I don't know yet. I love the word yet. When we're talking to perfectionists and kids who make mistakes, the word yet is so important. We're all here to learn. Learning means I don't know yet. I'm going to have a go. It's okay not to know. We're coming to school to learn. We're all learners, and saying to a student, have a go. And just be careful about not saying things like, that's wrong. Say, can you fix it up? Can you think of another way? Is there a way that you could find a different answer? Maybe there's another way to do it. And using words like sometimes, maybe, actually thinking about the mindset. So show them how to ask for help, but also get other students to come to them for help. I have found that very valuable, letting them know everybody needs help. So making sure with the C2 then see you that other students go to the neurodiverse kids. So if you've got a student who is really good at maths or spelling or drawing, ask students to go to them for help and actually say that, build their self-confidence that it's okay to ask for help. Everybody asks for help, and really work on that. But the big one I believe is this. Stop correcting them all the time. Stop pointing out their mistakes. Does it really matter? Does it matter if they didn't spell that word perfectly? Looking at something they've written, does it matter if the word enormous is wrong? Does it matter if the word hypothesis is wrong? Is that a word other students at their age would get wrong? Is that a good go for their age group? Does it matter they're missing a little word in that sentence for some of my students who aren't good at proofreading? So what's your goal? Is your goal they do the work or you correct everything? And if you correct it, is it going to set them off and upset them so they won't have a go next time? So maybe let a little bit go. Maybe don't be such a perfectionist. Maybe just go, okay, on this page, I'm only correct 3 things. I am happy if I correct 3 things because if I do more than that, they're not going to look at it anyway. Maybe I'm going to circle 3 things for them to fix up. So instead of me telling them it's wrong, I'm going to put 3 circles for them to look it up, fix it up, ask someone else. Maybe in a quiz, I might, show the class, well, the average person got 6 out of 10. So if you got, and show them that, some people only got 4 out of 10. Some got 8 out of 10. Not everybody got 10 out of 10. Some of my students are aiming for 10 out of 10. And with my secondary school students, I like to start at the beginning of any assessment task talking to them about, okay, what are we aiming for in this assessment task? What do we want to get? Okay, you want to get 90%, or you want to, different schools use numbers. My kids' schools use out of 8. Well, you want a 6 out of 8. You want a 4 out of 8. You want a 50%. What would we need to do to get 50%? And maybe you could show them a student's work that gets 50%, because so many of my secondary school students don't hand anything in because they're aiming for 100%. In a spelling test, are you aiming for this student to get 100%? How many kids in your class get 100%? Maybe you need to talk to them about the average person in our class gets 6 out of 10 spelling words right. That's okay. I'm happy you get 6. Because can you understand, if you're a perfectionist, you're aiming for 10 out of 10. So no wonder they get anxious about that spelling test. So pre-warn them. Everyone makes mistakes. Pre-warn them. We're not aiming for 100%. And really remind them that we're just doing this quiz or test to check on our learning, and we can still learn those 4 words that we don't know. That's okay. We can add them to next week's list. That's what everybody does. So I think talking about that progress, talking about it's okay, we don't have to get everything right. But the big one is, what's your plan A? That's okay. That's what you did. That was your plan A, to have your favorite pen. Your favorite pen's not available. What is your plan B? Okay, that pencil's not available. What is your plan C? You wanted to sit on the mat here. Someone else is already there. What is your plan B? What is your plan C? Those of you who have done my courses know I talk about your words matter. I am a GPS. Don't say, you can't sit there. Elijah's already there. It's Elijah's already there. Where else could you sit? Can you see another space? What is your plan B? Don't tell them that's wrong or you can't do something. Can't doesn't tell the child what to do. So we need to watch our words too. We need to say, okay, you can't, Elijah is there. Where else is there a spot? Or often if they wanted a specific student to be their partner, Elijah's already with Jessica. Who else could you go with? Who else would be a good partner? And how about we say to Elijah, next time we have a partner, can we be partners? And then encourage Elijah to say yes, or actually, I've already planned to go with someone else. So you need to really problem solve, role model that, and remind them if Elijah forgets to go, it's okay. Sometimes people forget. What's our plan A? What's our plan B? What's our plan C? So parents, okay, with the barbecue shapes example, sometimes parents run out of our favourite barbecue shapes. That's okay. They've put in salt and vinegar. I can try the salt and vinegar barbecue shapes. Maybe I will like them, because sometimes things are different and that's okay. Sometimes we like those different things. So I think actually talking about that, creating cognitive flexibility, but you can't just boom, create it. You need to show them different things to do and different ways to have a go. So I highly recommend you think about how can you model it? How can you practice it? Can you write social scripts? Can you give them examples? Can you change your language? Can you make sure that you're encouraging them to have a go and think about their plan A, B, C, Ds and so forth? Now, in the mega book on page 13, I also talk about how to engage disengaged students. And for some of my students who have a real fear of mistakes, for all of the reasons I've mentioned, or perfectionists, we need to think about what to help engage them. And one of those things is a fear of failure. So we need to look at that. How do we approach the fear of failure? How do we support them with all those things I've talked about today? But the other thing I talk about in this book is encouraging independence. Some of my students who have a fear of failure become very dependent on their teacher assistants. So teacher assistants, or angels as I call you, those of you who have done my teacher assistant course know I call you angels. Angels, one of your jobs over the next week is I would love you to really just check, are they looking to you all the time to rescue them before they make a mistake? Are you letting them make mistakes? Are you correcting them too much? How can you build their independence? And part of building their independence is letting them have a go, teaching them how to fix up mistakes, not constantly correcting them. So can I encourage you to really not jump in all the time and let them make mistakes, do some of the things I've been talking about today, but start to use that language. You have a go. Or you can go, you have a go, then I'll have a go. You have a go, then I'll have a go. But don't jump in all the time. I know sometimes you feel like that's your job, but actually I have found over the years, your job is actually to build their independence. So if they haven't got you all the time, they can work on their own. And if they make a mistake, they don't catastrophize it when you're not there. Or they don't do no work when you're not there because they rely on you too much. So think about how you can build independence. Parents and carers, same for you. You need to practice making mistakes like Anna Tullemans, who I know you've heard me talk about and you've heard her on the podcast. She used to drive a different way to school with Daniel. When on a calm day, she'd take a wrong turn and then she'd go, oh, whoops, I went the wrong way. I wasn't thinking. That's okay. I can pull over and think what we can do. What's our plan B? She talked a lot with Daniel about what's our plan B, what's our plan C. And she also talked about what other people were thinking. So to help him understand other people's thinking. So when that person pushed in the line, what do you think they were thinking? Oh, they didn't see you. Oh, they saw their friend. Oh, they thought their friend had a spot for them. Talking about other people's thinking. When the teacher, the big one Anna used to do, which I think is invaluable, is when her son would get in trouble and he didn't like being in trouble because he was a perfectionist and a police officer, she would say, what do you think the teacher was thinking? What do you think the teacher was thinking? Oh, that you were being too loud. So, or why do you think the teacher got cross with you for not doing your work? Oh, because you're interrupting other people. So she'd actually get him to think through what could have the teacher been thinking in that situation, and the same with his friends. So really remember that this perfectionism can often be social as well, wanting everyone to play the same way or play the same game or getting frustrated or wanting to win or wanting to be first. A lot of the making mistakes and perfectionism all sort of comes together with these things. So I hope, you're thinking, wow, there's a lot we can do to support our perfectionists. I hope that you're like, oh, I can really see for many of my students how this looks. The other thing, apart from practicing flexible thinking and asking for help and modeling how to cope with frustrations, can I ask you also model staying calm? Actually model staying calm yourself, because I think what our kids tend to see is us going, and catastrophizing. So if there's a mistake, you can say, that's okay. I can take a deep breath and I can try again. If there's someone pushes in the line, it's okay. I'm going to stay calm and let them know I was here first. If the wrong barbecue shapes are in my lunchbox, that's okay. I'm going to take a deep breath and think, if I like that flavor, is there something else in my lunchbox I can eat? Remember, when I'm calm, I can think of solutions. If I'm anxious, I get panicky. So just letting the child and student know that staying calm is a strategy. Now, I often joke that never in the history of calming down did anyone calm down by being told to calm down. If anyone's ever told you to calm down, it often escalates your behavior. So please remember, just telling a student to calm down is not a strategy. What you need to do is say, take a deep breath, or that's okay. You can think what else you can do, count to 3, or look for something yellow. I find if a student has a favorite color, that works really well. So if something upsets you, remember, first, look for something blue. Okay. Once you found something blue, come back to what's the problem. Now think, what could you do to solve it? What is your plan B, C, D? How can you fix up the mistake? Is this an opportunity for learning? So try getting them to look for something that's their favorite color, or counting or breathing, depending what works for the students So I hope that will make a difference to you and the students Really hoping you'll join me for my online courses. For those in New South Wales, we're super excited because my course is now NESA accredited. Yay, 5 hours. For those of you in South ACT and the rest of Australia, the accreditation hasn't changed. It's the same as always. It's just New South Wales changed their system. Look forward to seeing you face-to-face or in one of my online courses soon. I hope you've got some great tips and strategies to make a difference. Remember, strategies wear out and not every strategy works for everybody. If you're ready to dive in deeper to more strategies and ideas to make a difference, I'd highly recommend you consider Dr. Tony Attwood or my online courses. For more information, visit my website www.sulaki.com.au.